Hello and welcome to another episode of Life in White Noise.
Welcome.
Good to hear you, bro.
One full week down and another episode to go. I'm excited.
Yeah. There we go. Excited very much. Especially the topic is so exciting because I also consider you one of my mentors, sir.
Wow, what an honor.
I know. And it's the first time stating it, so no one actually knew about it.
Wow. I don't know if I've ever actually been a mentor. I think I've worked with some people as a superior, but I never really perceived myself as a mentor. So hearing you say that warms my heart, Thomas.
Absolutely. I think at least my understanding of mentorship is you don't have to officially sign any documents. No one has to actually call each other, mentor or mentoree, or you have to have a specific agenda for it. I think some people just show up in your life and they just give you something, they teach you something, and then they leave. And at least for me, I had so many mentors, and for me, from our encounter in person before the Nomad Cruise and on the Nomad Cruise, I just fell in love, or re-fell in love, if you can say that, with storytelling and just being completely optimistic about people and where things can go to. And thank you for that. Thank you for showing the art and the power that storytelling has, and just being completely open with people and finding that connection with even the hardest. Do you say hardest? Maybe. Even with, strangest people, weirdest people, and so on. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I would like to reciprocate that as well in terms of how much you have taught me over the past days, weeks, months that we've known each other, along the lines of, setting up an independent life and work environment for myself. I really took a lot from you. And I guess that's sort of the situation that we find ourselves in often, is whether there's an actual time that you pick a mentor, like you said, and write down, I'm your mentor, we meet these times, and I teach you these things, and where that definition is now in terms of maybe it's just like you found someone you like working with or you like talking to, and they teach you a thing or two, and maybe that's like your definition of a mentor. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I don't think I could call someone a mentor if they are not a friend of mine. Well, I'm going to dive deeper into what mentorship is for me and how I use books and courses and just generally freely available information online to kind of find mentors online, and especially mentors that are long gone and they've been living 1,000 years ago or 100 years ago and so on. But generally, if I'm talking about like a real life mentor, for me it's probably more like a friendship. So it's obviously mutual respect, understanding, maybe also like unconditional acceptance, or just understanding fully, the other person and trying to fit in other person's shoes. So for me, I'm still struggling a lot by just understanding other people's values and their motivations, because I'm really motivated by just creating stuff and putting it out there and stepping out of my comfort zone, where other people sometimes they just like to chill and they just like to consume stuff. So sometimes I struggle with that and become a little too pushy by trying to just push my own beliefs, my own values, my own understanding of the world to other people, and it makes them uncomfortable. So I think mentorship for me is first of all about friendship, so accepting and understanding other person and trying to empathize. And when it comes to friendships, most of the time, you just encounter someone while you're doing your business, or you just need some kind of service, and then you find these people through your professional network or through a mutual friend. And then somehow, once you're done with the business, or someone needs to fix your laptop, or someone needs to help you with your social media, or consult you on website design or whatever. But then, in between these professional encounters, meetings, whatever, you kind of drift into the off-topic zone, and then you realize that this person is a huge Game of Thrones fan, or is a huge traveler, or loves basketball, or reads Ayn Rand, or whatever. And then you find this mutual topic that you both are passionate about, and then somehow the professional interests and all of this like formal behavior just disappears, and then you see a person, that professional person, setting, in a professional setting, you just see him, her, as a potential new friend, and then you somehow connect, and then you start learning from them, because I think you cannot really learn or trust a person until you blur that line of, oh, this is formal and I just do whatever you say and nothing more, and you don't have to expect anything from me other than like what I'm paying for you, or what we are trying to exchange in this encounter. So for me, I think it's most of all about friendships, and then these friendships develop, into deeper relationships where you start understanding how these people operate, and then you kind of break down their thinking process, and then you learn from them probably more than they teach you, because they cannot send all the information verbally or non-verbally. So I think in a way, mentoring yourself, even though you're being mentored, is a very active job, and you need to understand what the other person is trying to teach you. And sometimes you don't really have a clear idea, but a year or two passes, and then you start understanding what that person was about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you should definitely coin a new term. Maybe call it like a friendtorship.
Sounds good enough.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be these levels of tiers of mentorship, because for me, my first view of a mentorship was legitimately like seeking out an individual who was almost above you in maybe a career, or just a level in general, maybe a manager above you, someone that's above you that either expands your knowledge in the time span of working in this realm that you want to be in. So when I always perceived what a mentor was, I was looking for this like big, I don't know how to really portray this. I believe I put them on sort of a pedestal at one point, where I was just sitting there seeking out a mentor in an area that I thought I needed it in, when it actually turned out that I just needed somebody next to me to sort of nudge me along, or help me out through the hard times of my struggles in my career. And so I almost at one point was looking for something that I was never going to get, because I was looking for the wrong thing. Not to say that these higher up mentors that are like incredible aren't like, they're good for their certain things, but when that's the first thing I had to look for, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to search for. I almost Googled it, to be honest with you. How do I find a mentor in this? I've even like reached out to friends and asked them, I was like, do you know anybody in this area that could mentor me? And I was on this almost fabled journey to seek out the one true mentor as a developer that could teach me this language and guide me down the path of righteousness of web development. And that really didn't land me anything that I really desired. I never really met anybody that matched my criteria. And once I stopped looking for this magical, mystical unicorn of a being and started just communicating with the people around me and just seeking out all of their knowledge together, it was almost a collective mentoring of sorts for me, where one, I guess I knew more than I thought I did because other people would actually ask me for information as well as I to them. And this mystical being that I've drawn in my head and portrayed for so long was no longer desirable. And it was now a point where I just knew I needed to surround myself with just like-minded people and not necessarily this genius that I was looking for. So it was really interesting for me to go through that path of seeking out a mentorship, because I believed that a mentor, I mean, I'm literally picturing a centaur in my head for some reason. I have no idea why, but like this mystical being that I just couldn't find.
That's cool. For me, it's probably one of the wizards from the Lord of Lord of the Rings, and yeah, I think many people imagine that, just mentors or someone they look up to, they just have it all. They figured out everything. Like their finances, their health, their relationships, their work, everything. But in many cases, when I met them in person, like I would interview them. Maybe I would just start following them on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and then go interview them or read their work, and then you meet them in person. Then you see that, okay, these people have their own struggles. They're going through their own a journey of adventures and challenges and stuff, and they're trying to just figure it out. And for me, I don't think I ever wanted to have just a mentor who has it all, but I was always looking up to the people who are way ahead in the journey that I'm taking. So whether it's design or writing or entrepreneurship, and then I would look at their journeys and I would be like, holy shit, they know everything. Like if only I could meet them, sit down for lunch or coffee or whatever, they would give me all the answers. And most of the time, it's nothing like that. I think most of the time, what you get and what benefits you the best is not actually an answer, but another question. So when I used to live in London for over a year, I was working part time at a design agency, and then freelancing online, and then running my own design magazine. I had a good friend, I consider a mentor as well, who had 20 years of teaching experience, and he would ask all of these, for me at that time, really weird questions that I was like, like, do you even follow like our conversation, what I'm talking about? Because you don't give me answers. You just ask me more questions and I'm more confused. I don't understand what I'm talking about anymore. So for me, it took like 2 or 3 years to digest all of these questions and understand that the best mentors or the best leaders, they ask even more questions. And once you learn to ask better questions, then these questions lead you to better understanding of yourself, and it leads you to finding answers on your own. Because I don't think if people just hand over you all the solutions to all your problems, that it's going to fix anything. I think it's going to fix stuff for short term. But if you don't understand the fundamentals, the root causes of things that cause you pain or cause you anxiety or make you creative or make you positive or make you happy, if you don't understand the fundamentals, the essentials, I think then you're just going to go back and keep struggling and keep wondering, why it doesn't work, why I don't understand it. So I think the best mentors, they ask really good questions. And again, like, one person cannot just ask all the best questions in the world. So as you said, there's this kind of collective mentorship, and I found these people first time when I attended the startup weekend in Denmark. I was exposed to this entrepreneurial event, where in 2 days they're just doing everything to build a business in a weekend. And for me, it was amazing to see how these people see problems differently, how they see opportunities in absolutely everything, and how they treat these challenges. Because before I came from a background where, like, okay, you don't have money, it's your, well, it's not really your fault. It's government, it's this, it's that, it's, it's bad timing, whatever. And then these entrepreneurs, they would be like, oh, you're struggling with this. Let's make a business out of it. How much we can charge for this? How many people are struggling with that problem? And for me, it was a revelation that, okay, I don't have to be in an area or in an environment where people are just complaining all the time and seeing the bad picture. I can surround myself with people who have a very, very what's the word? A huge variety of skills. So some people can teach me about marketing. Some people can teach me about sales. Some people can teach me about development. Some people can teach me about psychology, and so on and so on. So once I was exposed to that environment of like-minded people, entrepreneurs, and I realized, yeah, I can be mentored by everyone. There are people. I believe that anyone in the world has something you don't know, and it's only your what's the word? What I'm trying to say. It depends on how humble you are willing to be to listen to that person, because sometimes we just get so arrogant. At least in my case, we get so arrogant, or we think, oh, this person is inferior, this person doesn't know shit, and then you just close the door to being mentored by housewife or a waitress or another fellow traveler or whatever. So for me, it's a big struggle. And again, just referring back to our previous topic of self-awareness, I need to always be self-aware and notice when I'm just being too egocentric and saying, like, oh, I know about this. I'm not going to listen. Or even if I'm listening, I'm not letting the new information in. So I think collective mentorship is really powerful. But again, I don't think every person is ready to be mentored for absolutely every topic or every area of their life. And for me, it took some time to be mentored on personal relationships and creative work and just generally letting go of control and trying to manage people by letting them do their job instead of just saying them what to do. So I don't know how was your experience by being mentored by collective mentors.
Yeah, I mean, so to start, there was definitely this. It's hard for me to really wrap my brain around mentorship. I think you really put it as intelligently as possible that a good mentorship actually asks more questions than answers, because what they do best is get your brain thinking of something that it wasn't thinking about. There's always this sort of ideology wrapped around when you fixate on a moment, you see that moment everywhere. I guess you could find it in movies like Number 23 or Pi, where if you think of a number, and I challenge anybody to do this, it's actually really interesting and a bit creepy. I've done it once, where you think of a number and then see how many times you can see that throughout a day. And it pops up everywhere. My number specifically is 327 because I was born on March 27th, and I see 327 everywhere. I see 327 on all the doors that I walk by. Every time I look at my clock, at least daily, I'll see it hit 327. But anyways, as I'm saying this, what I'm trying to get at is we fixate on this one ideology and nothing else. We can't get distracted by anything else but this one idea. And so what happens when you bring these mentors in, they start to ask the questions. What about number 25? What about number 2? What about number 70? And then they start almost releasing your brain out of that one fixated moment where you're sitting there trapped in this spiral of just understanding one thing and only wanting to understand that one thing better and better. And so they help you get out of there and get you out of the proverbial box and think outside the box, if you will. You can't see it, but I am using air quotes at that point. But that's
I felt it. I felt it. I felt it in your voice.
did you yeah, good. I'm glad it.
Yeah, it's your air quotes voice.
Yeah. It's when I really elongate every single word. But yeah, so that's why I really like having a conversation with somebody where it's not necessarily, here's my idea, and then their rebuttal to that is, yes, here's my idea. Instead, a mentorship sounds a little more like, me, here's what I'm thinking, then the other person sort of asks you that question beyond that. I can't really think of a good example right now, but if you just say landing pages are bad, something weird like that. Landing pages suck. No one really uses them. And then a mentor comes and says, how many have you ever really analyzed a quality landing page or something like that? Something super simple. But instead of telling you you're wrong or no, think this way, they ask you to think differently. And then they make you step out of your own self, analyze the situation, so that now it's almost like a one-on-one inception where they're making you think for yourself instead of thinking for you and then trying to burn that in your brain. Because for me, I learn best when I'm making the mistakes. And so for someone to tell me, this is the mistake you made, fix it, I'll never learn. But if we look at the mistake together and they ask my process, and then as I'm sort of using my process, then I start finding out why I made that mistake and how I can fix that mistake. And they kind of just get me out of that zone, out of that realm of the one track mind. That is an extremely powerful mentor.
Right. So what you're saying, what I'm getting out of this is they don't try to show what is right or wrong, or basically they don't even acknowledge the fact that there's right or wrong. And in a way, it makes you emotionally feel that it's not your fault, or it's not really you that fucked up in a specific situation. It was just your kind of a certain decision or a certain action or a certain kind of thing that you did that you can fix. But again, it's not your fault, and they don't try to blame you or say, "Oh, it was a good job. You're very smart," or whatever. And once again, it's less about being correct or wrong, but more about just seeing all the possibilities. And as you said, like sometimes they would just ask a question that would challenge your thinking, and it would be like, "Oh, there's actually another way of thinking about this problem, or another way of thinking about life, or just choosing, life." And these mentors, as you say, like they have these questions that they just start challenging. And as you mentioned, the exercise where you just fixate on a specific number, that can be really creepy because for me it happened a couple of times. For example, my family would buy a car, and then I start seeing these cars everywhere. I'm like, what? Why does everyone drive the same car? Or like you buy a new T-shirt and you think like, oh, I look really good in this T-shirt, and then you walk around the town and you see at least 15 other guys wearing the same T-shirt. So as you say, like these mentors just expose you to all the possibilities that your brain was not probably aware of. Because again, like referring to our amazing, intelligent podcast name, Life in White Noise. Life is white noise. Everything is at the same time, everything and everywhere. And everything around you is sad and happy and good and bad and whatever you define, good and bad. But everything is happening just right now. And sometimes people feel like they're just sleepwalking, and like 3 years later they wake up and they see the best people around them who were around them all the time. So again, I think mentors, they just kind of expose you to all the possibilities that exist and then let you choose what matters to you the most. Because I don't think a mentor's job is to get you to the conclusion or to the ending or to the outcome, because no one knows what is good for you except you. So for me, the best mentorship moments happened when I was reading dense books, history books, psychology books, where they would just expose this truth of everything is happening at the same time, and everything in this world is happening right now. We're recording this podcast, but there's 7 billion people in the world doing something right this second. And for me, it's hard to really understand this concept that, oh wow, there's so much in the world, but I need to choose something. And this is where the struggles and challenges begin, because you don't know what is right and what is wrong. But all of these books and including podcasts allowed me to understand that, okay, there's so much happening. I don't have to be right or wrong. I just need to stand by something, to believe in something and choose certain values. And I think once you start trusting these people, so whether book authors or podcast hosts or just people you meet in person, once you trust and have a specific level of trust, and again that comes to emotional side, where to get these emotionally free questions from people and believe in them and trust them, you kind of have to have this emotional attachment where, I'm not going to believe a CEO who's a complete scumbag, douchebag, and just, like works just for himself and tries to benefit himself. And when he talks about the social good and social entrepreneurship and how to do this and that, I wouldn't trust that guy. So there's this incompatibility. Whoa, this is a hard word. You're gonna help me with that word. Incompatibility, incompatibility of emotional free questions, but from emotional full person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally, man. There's definitely something very special with the communication that you have with the people you perceive as your mentors, that there is a sort of compatibility, like you said, that's something that you really can't measure, I suppose. I've always, for me, like I said earlier, struggled with the idea of mentorship, only to actually look back at my past life and to realize how many people really mentored me. I went through a bunch of different corporate structure businesses, and every single person potentially taught me something that I almost take for granted at this moment in time in my life, where maybe I had an idea now that these people really taught me back then, and now I'm sort of embracing that idea. And I think that that's something that we need to acknowledge and not necessarily take for granted anymore, is everybody that we've met in our past and everybody that we plan on meeting in our future, every single person, like you said earlier, can give you some sort of knowledge that pushes you along. And I actually do struggle a lot with that ability to open up to everybody and listen. I try to listen to every single person as much as possible, and I catch myself often shutting down on very specific people, and it's definitely, I could tell that it's the people that are trying to tell me whether I'm right or wrong. And I'm always like in my head, how dare you tell me I'm right or wrong on this situation? Why don't we have a intelligent conversation about this? Or maybe I'm that asshole as well. I could be. I have no idea. Maybe I am. I don't want to be. I hope that my awareness doesn't make me seem like that. I definitely find myself going in every conversation in a way where I want to ask the questions and I want to learn from every single person. whether they're trying to learn from me. And so I suppose what I gather from this is the idea that even when someone's seeking your mentorship, you could still seek something from them. And maybe it's a sort of a two-way street for every single person that you communicate with. Only because I say that only because I struggle so hard in this, weird perceived mentorship. And I feel I want to change. And I find this topic very interesting in terms of what really is a mentor anymore. Am I right?
Right. We need to kind of define it probably. I think our definitions are going to be very different. But for me, I don't consider mentors just like living human beings. Obviously, everything that has been created in the world that we read or listen or watch to was obviously made by people, but they don't have to be around here. I recently started reading Stoic philosophy, and these people, they're not around for a couple of millenniums, thousands of years,
Millennials?
and millennials, and but these people, and I'm also reading about Buddhism and all of these, ancient religions, and I'm learning a lot of things, and the way I learn the most is when my beliefs are completely shattered, or my worldview is changed by just being exposed to an idea that I was not aware of before. And these people are there, like people don't change that much over thousands of years. We all have the same problems. We go through the same phases where you need to figure out, so who am I? What am I doing in this world? Why people don't love me? Why I love these people and I don't love others? Why I care about this thought, about this cause, and I don't care about the other one? And people struggle with work, with family, and we all gonna go through the same, absolutely same phases. But the thing is that people who went through the same phases, they documented their journeys, and everything is accessible on online right now, and it's amazing. You can pretty much access any book in the world in the next, what, like 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Just go to Amazon, Wikipedia, read a summary or whatever, and you can Google absolutely everything. And in a way, I think it creates this function where you don't learn or try to understand things deeply, because you already know that you have this huge external brain called internet, where all the answers can be answered. But the thing is that most of these answers, yeah, they're going to be answered, but it's just going to be a short-term fix, where it's not going to heal the actual disease, so to say. But it's just going to kind of fix the headache. But then the headache is going to come back because there's some kind of other problem. So with these like long gone mentors, I see that mentorship is also a mindset, I think. So mentorship for me is, first of all, it's a mutual trust. So obviously the books that I'm reading, these people are not even aware that I'm reading these books, because they might be gone, or they're still alive, but they don't know that at this moment I'm reading their book. But from their side, in their creation process, they were assuming that someone like me is going to be reading, and they were giving out their full attention, their creative struggles. They were trying to overcome these creative challenges, showing up and doing their best work. And that best work was obviously fulfilling them. But at the same time, it's a huge gift for me. But at the same time, I need to be ready to receive their gifts and their kind of the things that they want to give me. So mentorship is probably first like loyalty to yourself and trust, mutual trust, and then it's something about being about the right time, because you cannot be mentored about everything in your life just right now, because it's just not the right time. You need to go to certain struggles. You need to lose a loved one, or to lose a business deal or whatever, or just completely fail emotionally or whatever creatively, to understand certain things. And no matter how hard we want to avoid pain in life, it's just inevitable. So I think pain is inevitable. I think I learned it from, again, one of my mentors. Pain is inevitable, but your reaction or suffering is optional. So you don't have to suffer all the time. Like if you keep failing after certain things, you don't have to suffer. You can choose to be like, okay, this is learning experience. There is something I'm doing wrong. Let's see what causes most pain, why I'm suffering, and then change something. So to just sum it up, because I think I just went on too long to define mentorship for me. I think it's mutual trust, right time, uh, open minds, and right questions. That's what mentorship is for me.
I think that expands a lot of information that people can capture. And for me, it almost seems like we need to redefine how we perceive mentorship only because of the information that we are accessible to in this generation. Because think about 20, 30, 40 years ago, a mentor might legitimately be this one person, and they might have another the similar job of you that you wish to be in. Sort of like what I'm picturing is, I mean, way back when they make swords and stuff, and you had to go through a process to be this sword maker, and this person has to teach you the ways of the how to actually do it after years and generations of learning how to craft this sword into this wielding axe and everything. And you have to learn it the way I've learned it and move on. Now it's moved into this new generation here where if you have power and the connection to internet, you can legitimately learn anything you want. And I would like to think that we are privy to that situation, so much so that children are actually smarter at a younger age because they have the likeness of the internet to find knowledge if they seek it. Maybe not a lot of them are seeking for the exact knowledge that you and I are seeking for. Maybe they're seeking for some dank memes and some prankster YouTubers, but still they have the opportunity to learn just about anything and to access thousands of years of knowledge all within 5 seconds of a Google search or a training video of some sort. And plus all of the online education platforms that are being released. I feel like I hear of a new online education platform, boot camp, and teaching you how to learn something in 6 months that we've previously had to learn over a span of 4 years in a graduate degree. And for you to redefine how you perceive mentorship may be helpful in the way that other people may perceive it as well, and no longer seek out one person, but seek out the knowledge in general. And once you seek out the knowledge, you start to, like you say, the trust and the faith. You find those other people that also have that faith in wanting to learn this, and together you can learn. Or maybe they teach you something, you teach them something, but it's this mass collective of just the desire to learn. I think it's very powerful. And I think it genuinely goes unnoticed only because it may not have a term like mentorship attached to it. And if I were to gather anything out of our conversation, at least, I would have the idea that mentorship is redefined along the lines of just the desire to seek out knowledge and to find like-minded individuals to learn together with, potentially. Because that's how I learn, at least, or that's how I teach also, is let's learn together. Because when you physically do it, the action of doing and learning is so much more powerful than these sitting at a table and being told what you're supposed to learn. I know for me, through my education growing up, I fought that system through and through. I was terrible in school, not because I wasn't smart, but because I fought the system, because that's not how I wanted to learn. And looking back, it's just what I've done things differently. I would like to think that I would have, but still, that's not the system I wanted to learn in. And it was this amazing moment where the second I was able to go out and choose what I wanted to learn, and then to get that knowledge, and then to utilize that knowledge, and to find other people who want to teach or learn with you, is when I was able to sink that knowledge in and be able to regurgitate it at any time in my life. And it's a knowledge that's burned in my brain, because I cannot tell you anything about algebra. I bet if I took an algebra class right now, I'd probably fail it. But when it comes to coding and design and starting businesses or just being genuinely creative, all of those things I desired and I sought out to learn myself. And those are the knowledges that I hold dear to my heart now, and am able to speak at such an affluent level because of that. I think that's very powerful. And that's sort of an excellent example of sort of redefining the way we perceive mentorship.
I love it. I love it, man. I love your definition. And again, it's pretty open, but I think, as you mentioned, it's about learning together. It's about just opening up and discussing openly things that matter to you with people that understand you and share certain values. And do you think, because right now, as I understand, we're talking about mentorship as being this positive thing, does negative mentorship exist as well? Because pretty much like our first mentors are our parents. And then from a very, very early age, our mentors are teachers. And I can completely resonate with you on the school system fighting against the education kind of like behavior, because all the time I felt like I'm just being taught doing things one way and not the other. And all the time I'm like, is this evil? Like, what if they're teaching me the bad way? And then I'm still struggling with unlearning things. So one of the biggest things I'm struggling to unlearn is that I don't have to work 5 days a week very hard and then take a weekend off. I can just do it my own way. I'm completely independent. I work on my own hours. I work when my energy is high, and I don't have to be creative every single day. I can just take it easy and go and spend time the whole day, just like kind of recharging, taking a massage, going to the park, meditating, reading, writing, and writing without any expectations. It doesn't have to be published anywhere. It doesn't have to be correct. I can use Lithuanian, English, German, British, whatever, German, British, Japanese, any words I want. I can use symbols, but at the same time, I don't do it because I try to be correct. I try to be to obey the way of life that I was taught in my you know was childhood. Well, the things that I was taught in school, and most of these things were telling me like, if you do this, then you can get that, and then you do this. So once you finish school, you can go and find a good job. Once you have a good job, you can buy a nice house, and then you can do this and that. And so for me, it's like, I'm just wondering: is there negative mentorship? Does mentorship only has positive kind of meaning? What's the exact definition? Because from our board of definitions, uh, I completely agree that it's a lot about just seeking that knowledge, being open minded, asking right questions, and trusting the process, and kind of believing in people that you surround with yourself with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there is a negative mentorship. I think there is a form of mentorship that might not fit your style, because there's clearly a lot of people out there who have gone through our education systems and fully succeeded with the knowledge that they were taught. I have this cartoon in my head, and you have to remind me to put this cartoon in the description, because I talk about it almost all the time when it comes to learning. And it's a picture of all these different types of animals: an elephant, a monkey, a fish in a fishbowl, and this teacher in front of them saying, all right, we're all going to take a test. And this is for me to define your level of knowledge. Everybody has to climb the tree behind you. And when you get to the top, that's how I know that you're smart. But a fish can't even fucking get out of the water to climb the tree. So how can you really define that everybody has the exact same way of learning and the exact same way to teach every single person? I know it's not scalable, but I think there's a point where we as individuals have to find what's best for us to learn and to try to integrate that into our lives. And that has to go back to the self-awareness that we have back in a couple episodes ago, that we really have to look into ourselves to see what style of mentorship works for us. I know a few people out there that they just want to mentor as a person who keeps them on their toes and keeps them getting work done and moving forward and just working harder and faster and stronger, and to keep pushing them, almost like a football coach who you're on your 90th push-up and there's no way that you can do one more, but you got this guy yelling at you and you pull out the 100th push-up. Some people need that. Some people desire that. Some people thrive in that sort of environment. Or there's other people like I believe you and I, who want to have sort of a back and forth tennis match with our mentor, of asking questions and challenging the norm. That's how I believe that maybe there isn't such a negative mentorship. Maybe there are a few mentors out there that will probably fuck up everybody's day, and you should probably look out for them. But I think there's definitely a style, and each person has to find that style of mentor or mentors and run with them and find out what way that you learn best, and to seek that out, because we're in an era where there's an infinite amount of ways to do the same thing, and something out there is there for you. You just got to find it.
Wow, wow. These are beautiful examples. They're so visual and it's so easy to understand. Thank you for these.
Yeah.
And and also, like, as you mentioned, self-awareness, like, there's so many people who are getting these football coaches pushing them to do push-ups, where these people are actually Alberts Einsteins, and they're music geniuses, but they're sweating out in the gym and you know just challenging themselves physically, where they're they're not aware that they are not in the right track. And when they're not in the right track, all the wrong people will start influencing their way. And when we talked about negative mentorship, probably it doesn't really exist, but I think negative influence is probably one of the terms that people use. And I don't know what is exactly influence compared to mentorship, but probably mentorship has more self-awareness, where you are openly questioning, okay, why does this person ask this question? Do I trust this person? If I was in this person's shoes, would I do the same? And just kind of allows you to have, as you said, like this tennis match where you're trying to not only like challenge the other side, but kind of understand where they're coming from. Where in other mentorship style, you're just being taught one way of doing things. Like if you want to get fit, just go and do push-ups. That's it. That's the only thing. Eat a lot, sleep a lot, go and do push-ups. That's it. Where a mentor, in a tennis match would first ask like, why do you even want to be strong or fit or do this or that? And then you kind of reflect back to your inner true self and say like, oh, I was actually sold to this idea that I have to be this or that because of TV, of parents, of traumas in school, or some traumas in first, intimate relationships or whatever. And then you had these kind of dysfunctional beliefs about yourself, where you had to kind of pick up a thing or two to prove yourself to external world, where this mentor comes to you and says, well, first ask yourself, like, why do you do that? Do you do that for yourself? Do you do that to please others? And I think these two examples very well illustrate the way of possible mentors in the world, and kind of emphasizes the importance of being self-aware while being mentored, because it might not turn into things that you expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really don't know where else to go after that. I believe that we've pretty much knocked it down into a very specific idea of thinking of what it is that we are really seeking out in terms of just knowledge gathering.
I know it's very very heavy topic, and even just talking about it for me, it's a bit hard because I kind of have this understanding of what it is for me personally, and it's obviously different than for you. But it's hard to discuss it and hard to uncover it. But I'm glad we sat down together today to address this topic, because I think you can go quite far if you go alone. Like you can learn things, pick it up here and there, try and fail and succeed somehow. But at some point, you hit your full potential. Your full potential, meaning the potential you can reach by yourself. So not letting in, other people actively coach you, or not letting in your kind of like new ideas from books, from learning material. But at some point, you hit the ceiling, and you need someone to challenge your way, to give you new ideas, to ask you questions that might change things up. So I think it's good that we address this topic, and I hope everyone who's listening, they're gonna give a break uh, for their habitual thinking, and ask themselves where they're heading, who were the most influential mentors, ideas in their life that help them make their decisions, shape their kind of career paths, life paths, creative paths, whatever. And again, we talked about self awareness. It comes down, everything comes down to just self awareness. And if you don't think you have a mentor, I think again, because many people around you, they're going through same stuff as you. It might not look like, but they're trying to figure their life out, to figure out the independent work, their lifestyle, whatever they want to do. And your job is to probably sometimes to just stop and observe what is going on. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Absolutely. And it goes into this other idea of if we're seeking out these mentors, who are we looking for? What are we looking for? And how do we want to get to that level where we are seeking this path where these are the people that we're looking for? And how do I get to that level? Because maybe I don't know what I want to learn. Maybe I don't know what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. So I don't know who to look for as a mentor because I don't really know who or what I'm looking for. And so a lot of people I talk with is trying to find their passion first. And then when you find that passion, you find that mentor or collective that will get you deeper and further down. It's sort of that saying of if you do what you love, money comes after, and everybody's always trying to seek out that passion. And I find this a very big topic, especially when it comes to finding it and searching for it and knowing when it's there. And I'd love to talk much more about finding a passion, steps that you can take to becoming passionate about something so that you could get the mentors that you need to grow this seeded passion of yours into the lifestyle that you wish to choose in the future.
Oh man, I love that topic. And even though I have contradicting beliefs, where you need, I'm like a walking contradiction, but I believe that you obviously need to find passion, but at the same time, you need to first make sure you make a lot of money, and only then you can change the world. Because I don't know any broke leader who changed the world. First of all, they built their platform, their business, their following or their audience, whatever. And only then having this, power, they were able to change the world. So it's obviously finding your passion. It's not about just changing the world. It can be just changing your world or changing one person's life. But I have very, very contradicting beliefs about that. And on one day, I can feel more like, oh yeah, find your passion, just do your thing and money will follow. Where other days I'll be like, just figure out everything that you're comfortable and you can start creating and, have this time for your passion. And I'm more than happy to discuss this topic, and it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be probably a heated discussion there between you and me.
That's going to be a lot of fun because I have a lot to talk about on that subject too. And it's going to be one hell of a conversation for our next episode. So hopefully you can come and listen to our following episode of 5 about finding your passion and what really passion is.
I'm really passionate. I'm really passionate about creating and just letting things out, and just discussing things over and over again. So
excellent.
More than happy to catch up with you on the next episode. I don't know. I'm not going to refer to a specific day or daytime or whatever, but cannot wait for that. Thank you so much for joining today, and you really challenged my thinking today. And I don't know if you felt, but at some point I just didn't have words to say or to explain what I feel or what I think. So thank you so much again for letting me into this creative struggle, which has a very satisfying fruits at the end, where I feel like, okay, I challenged my own thinking, and right now I feel my world is expanding, and probably I'm going to have some more ideas later today, throughout the next week, where I'm going to be like, I wish I could go back to that podcast and express that idea that I just got from this podcast. So thank you very much for joining today, Dustin.
Thank you so much. I'm super grateful for really redefining my idea of mentorship. And it's definitely going to make me think differently about the communication I have with other people and what I gather from all of my conversations going forward. And I'm really looking forward to recognizing that and seeing how I interact. So I'm really excited, and thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one, or hear you on the next one. I don't know. We'll find out.
Hear you on the next one. Hashtag being mentored. Hashtag life in white noise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.